Bitcoin just had a massive flush to the downside. You can see price sold off 4.2% in very, very quick order over here. So on today's show, I'm going to identify for you exactly why this dump happened and whether the worst is over. Has the liquidation cascade to the downside finished? And can we start to look towards upside potential again? Well, stay tuned. This is going to be a very, very quick show and a rapid fire one. So let's have a look at Bitcoin Miami. So 2021, 2022, and 2023. It always seems to be a bit of a sell-off following the event. And you can see the prior ones over here. You had 6.41% sell-off, 9.79% sell-off in 2021. And this one over here was the 4% sell-off. So is the worst over? If so, well, we'll be looking for a bounce from this level, but have a look at what happened after that. Pretty much the fractal shows that you had continuation downside, and that lines up with that sell in May and go away. But is that really going to be the case? Well, when you see things like this, good old BitBoy making rap videos, then I think that it is possible we deserve the dump. So I unfortunately can't play this, but go through on my Twitter and you'll see the rap video. Anytime you see this rapper, you know it's bad news. Altcoin Daily did the same video over here. You can go find that on YouTube, the Altcoin Daily rap video. And it seems like every time we see something like this, there is a little bit of a dump. But let's look at the actual price action and what really matters, all jokes aside. Well, you can see over here, if you look at Bitcoin, you have a massive, massive volume profile above, which is acting as overhead resistance. That's on the weekly chart. You can imagine how much selling pressure took place within this region, which means that from a psychological level, it's an important zone for price action to push through. And it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not going to happen on the very, very first knock. And you can see the decline in volume over the course of the past couple of, or at least 2 years since the top of the bull market. And ever since, it's just been declining volume. What does that mean and what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that this potential move that we've had up over here, and let's quickly grab one of our tools to show you. This move up over here could still potentially be just a relief rally within a broader and longer bear market. So what would that look like? Well, essentially, you'd be looking for something similar to this. If that were to be the case, you'd be looking for this to eventually start to come back down. Now, I don't want to scare anybody, but you have to open up your mind to the possibilities that that is still something that could potentially happen. And I think it's a bit too soon to call it, but just understand this upside area over here between that $30,000 and $35,000 level is going to be an enormous amount of resistance. It's all underside resistance, which is going to take a lot for Bitcoin to break through. And I told you, look at the S&P 500, the futures chart over here, when it starts to approach those key and critical levels. And you can see the big move up that we had on the stock market today. And it's interesting that crypto did not follow. It's actually not really a good sign, at least for crypto, because it means that if this comes into resistance, which you can see is coming up very, very shortly, percentage-wise, what does that look like? So from here to here, it's got another 0.48% to reach that ultimate target over here, which is the broadening or at least the expanding megaphone pattern over here. So coming into this trend line, that would be an area of interest where I'd start to look for potential weakness. And if that weakness does show, I'll be looking to potentially short that market down. Now, obviously, the correlation to the stock market means if this were to come down, then crypto would, of course, suffer. So it could be a fake out to the upside. If it is a proper breakout, you expect it to hold above the gray box area. What is that area? Well, it's 4,230. 4,230 for the S&P 500 futures. You'd be looking for that level to hold. And then you can say it is potentially a convincing breakout. Next, a big area of interest that got hit. It's been one of our long-time targets, the W formation pattern. I remember mentioning this all the way back over here, which was in mid-April. And I got a lot of hate for that. I got a lot of hate saying that, guys, keep your eye open for potential double bottom formation over here on the dollar. And if that were to play out and it reaches this target over here, we would reevaluate, start to hold above this, and you have the real potential for a W formation pattern. And as you can see, that is a very bullish formation, which would lead to a lot higher on the DXY, which typically means pressure down for risk on assets, the stock market coming into key resistance. Bitcoin also, as I've shown you everything there with low volume, also coming into very, very big resistance. It means that the probability is just higher that prices will continue to trend down. And you as a trader should be taking the high probability setups, which means it's not necessarily the best place to go long. But obviously, on a low time frame, there are always still opportunities. I'm talking more towards the swing traders. This is just a key level. What you would be looking for if you're a bull is you want to see the dollar start to roll over here, and that would be your next lower high. So this region being 1, 2, next lower high happens somewhere around here, and then most likely the dollar starts to break down, and that would allow for crypto to break through those major resistance areas. So we'll watch this coming into the weekly close. It will be a very interesting candle to see how that does pan out. Next, Bitcoin. So here are your key levels. I would recommend marking out the key monthly level on both Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'll give you Ethereum now. Bitcoin's key monthly level is $26,965. If you start to see prices closing below that level, you can see how many times we've come into here, meaning that bulls are defending that aggressively. If they start to lose that on a closing basis, it means that price is most likely going to start to accelerate down towards that 25K zone. And if we eventually break through that, you're looking to the 200-day moving average. That should provide rock solid support. And I do think there should be a bounce off of that zone. But this is constantly trending up. So if it happens sometime later on in June, it might happen around that $23,500-ish level. Now, what about Ethereum? Ethereum's key monthly level is coming in at $1,762. Same story. Any closes that happen below there, it will lead to continuation towards the downside. It means that this would be a distributive pattern, right? Remember that Ethereum is already below the key quarterly level, which is already one thing that is not necessarily a good sign. And that means same thing. You're looking towards the 200 MA coming in at $1,561 for Ethereum as a potential zone where it could bounce off. Now, very, very quickly, I wanted to mention as well the Tesla giveaway. It's coming up very, very soon. You still have a chance to win this and enter, because it's really the luck of the draw, right? It's a raffle basis. It means that each trade that you take, so you need to sign up to the platform. Once you've signed up to OKX, you're welcome to use my link below. If you don't have an OKX account, you do get sign up bonuses. Take a trade. Each trade that you take, even if it is a spot trade, equals an entry into this, and we'll be doing the draw come the 22nd of May, which should be, it's either this week or it's going to be on Monday. Just check your calendar. Next, Bitcoin's pivot levels as well as Ethereum's pivot levels. You can see the pivot level changes every single day. $27,075. If price closes below $27,075 today, it means that the risk continues to remain to the downside on the daily. And I'm very impressed with our little drawings that we did all the way back over here on the 7th of May. Our little squiggly lines have followed almost to perfection. And then you'd be looking for continuation to the bottom of the range, lining up with the 200 EMA. Ethereum, very quickly, Ethereum's pivot level price is currently below that. It's $1,816. Close below there, continuation towards the downside. Also noteworthy is look at the EMAs, how price is struggling to get through that. It's showing that it's coming into that level to test it as resistance, and it's proving to be correct. It is acting as resistance, and it's exactly the same thing on Bitcoin over here. Resistance, resistance, and down it goes. So once these moving averages or exponential moving averages start to spread, so the yellow starts to spread away from the pink, that's usually where you start to see moves trend, where you get more aggressive moves, which means that the downside could come sooner than what you think. All right, next up, we have the 4-hour chart over here. We identified it yesterday. Again, same thing. You have your rejection of the 50 EMA, which is the red one. Another rejection, failure to get through the 50 EMA. Yesterday, I told you, watch this zone very, very carefully because, yes, we had a big candle that pushed through. Then you started to have the consolidation, and I said, be careful that it doesn't fall straight through. And now we have that. It started to fall through. But we'll tie this up with the liquidity levels. I told you, expect price action to come towards this candle over here. And you can see close enough is close enough. I wanted to see a little bit lower, about that 26.1, 26 2 sort of area. It got down to 26,371. So almost in line with where the wick is. And I would say that's a liquidity grab for you over there. It has taken the liquidity. Look here at high block capital. You can see on high block capital, the candle pushed directly into the bright yellow band, suggesting the liquidity was grabbed. So what now? You need to look to the next zone of liquidity. Your next major liquidity is coming up at 27,800. Low volume environment, you treat it as a range and you target the liquidity, which is usually near where the range highs are. You can see shorts are starting to pile into the market, chasing price to the downside, and usually they will eventually get squeezed. When that squeeze does take place, shorts are forced to close their positions, and consequently price should move up towards this area over here, which is that 27,800 level. Now, lining that up with our low time frame, you can see I've marked it out. Here's your next liquidity pool. It means all the guys that were shorting from here, they have their stops placed above these candles, and maybe they've started to trail those stops down. So initially the stops would have been there. After this move over here, they've now placed their stops within this region, and that's where the liquidity is. That means price is going to gravitate towards that liquidity zone. Don't be surprised if you see a quick bounce up into that $27,800 to $28,000 region, and then you could potentially come back down from that. Now, just remember, I want to remind you though, overall, why this is not so good for the bulls. Well, the reason is because remember, this was our broader range. Let me just quickly find the highlighted to show it to you a bit better. This was our broader range that we were looking at on the very low time frame, the hourly chart. We're looking for price to follow within that range, and any liquidity grabs below should have formed deviations back into the range, and same thing above, deviation above, and you come back into the range. But now we've started to spend quite a lot of time within this region, and there's been a failure to break out from that zone, or at least to break back into the range. Now, what does that mean? That basically means that risk is getting increasingly more dangerous towards the downside. The probabilities are becoming higher that the bulls are starting to lose control and price might go lower. I do have a couple of trade setups for you as well, so stay tuned. You can see standing out like a sore thumb is Render. That is one of the trade setups that I have for you on the low time frame. And if you look over here on the Banter bubbles chart, you can actually click on Render and you can see the chats and the discussions over here. Guys are sharing their trade ideas as well for what they're looking at on Render. Expect that Render could potentially go higher. Let's see, I think I just saw Ran in here. So go through into the Banter Bubbles chart over there, have a chat with the community. You sign in with your Twitter account, so you can actually follow any of these people. If you see anything of value, you can click on that guy, for example, and basically you can follow him on Twitter. I'm not going to do that now. Next, okay, let's look at those. I need to quickly pull up the app, and let's put that into the screen over there. So a couple of trade setups. I have DYDX. I just want to make this bigger for you. All right, let's do it like this. There we go. So we have DYDX. This is on the daily time frame. So I'm looking for something like this. You can see that you have a diagonal trend line over here, and we're looking for a deviation, which has now taken place back above the moving average. You might see one more sweep where price comes a little bit lower again. If it does come down into the green box territory over here, that's your opportunity to start to go long. And basically, you have your invalidation below this low. So that's one chart just to put on your watch list over there is DYDX. The next one is Lido. So Lido, you can see forming a very, very clearly defined range. Here's price stuck within this range over here, and you're looking for a pullback now back into the green box, which also happens to be the monthly open. What price point is that coming in at? It's coming in at $2.29. Excuse me, let me stand corrected. $2.02. So 2.029 as written on this side. If it does come into that level and hold, don't blindly long these things. You want to zoom in onto a low time frame. As it's coming into that zone, might deviate below the range a bit, but as soon as it recaptures, you have your swing failure pattern, stop goes below, and you can target that back towards the top side of the range. Next, Render. Render's been a big one. Might have already missed it. Look, it's also operating as a range between $1.64 and the range high at $2.37. So I wouldn't buy it over here, but if you do see a pullback that comes into this trend line over here, let's quickly move the green box up. You're looking at around that $2.06 level. $2.06 could be a potential area where you could find a long, and then you're targeting back towards the top side of the range, which is also a key monthly level. It's your monthly open at $2.38. Hold above that zone, and then you can start to move up towards $3.06. Okay, I got one more for you, and that is Optimism. Optimism, we're targeting down again towards the Monday low. So remember to use that indicator I showed you. I think it's called a Spaceman BTC. Let's just double check for you. Yeah, Spaceman BTC key level chart. You can mark out those key levels using that, the Monday low. That's where we're targeting on Optimism. You can see the diagonal trend line, which has been holding over there. That means you have an entry around that $1.60 level. If it manages to hold that potential deviation below, quickly reclaim and then target back up towards the monthly open at $2.15. So that is the quick analysis on those altcoins for you. Next, I wanted to give a shout out as well to Bitget. If you are looking for an alternative exchange to trade on that has no KYC, Bitget is definitely one of my go-tos. Check them out in the link in the description below. Here you have it. You got all the different links. Sign up using my link. You'll get up to $8,000 in sign-up bonuses. You lose nothing, and it does help me a little bit. And that is it from me, folks. We're in Miami now at the moment, so tomorrow is going to be very hectic. I don't think that I'll be doing a show for the next day, which is for the weekend. But if I can do a show on Saturday, I'll do my best to do it. I just think that tonight is going to be a late one. We're meeting up with all the fans, and I can't wait to see all of you guys. All of you have flown out to come and see us. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for joining. Also, smash up the like button over there. Help to get the show out, and let me know in the comments, are you long or short? That's it from me. Cheers for now. I'll see you on the next one.